So Republicans continue to wake up every day and think, how can we be more inhumane and just awful to people just trying to come to this country and live a better life? Well, they came up with something, and this seems like something it should be out of like a fucking comic book horror fucking novel or whatever. Like, this is some comic book villain shit. Like, what the hell is happening here? What the hell is happening? From NPR, what to know about Alligator Alcatraz, Florida Migrant Detention Center in progress. And it gets even darker to where they're getting the funds for this. Florida officials are turning, and this is a picture of this said airfield that they want to convert. Florida officials are turning an airfield in the Everglades into a migrant detention center, nicknaming it Alligator Alcatraz, due to its proximity to the apex predators. Florida Attorney General James Uthmeier. Oh my God. Why am I hearing about this guy so much? Shouldn't this motherfucker be in jail for just blatantly ignoring a judge's court order? This is the same asshole that we just covered last week who got an order from a district judge that said, hey, Florida's new immigration law, you need to put a pause on that for now. And he goes and he tells all his underlings, like, hey, I talked to a judge and they basically said that we're not allowed to enforce this law. However, I disagree and I'm going to appeal it. So at this time, you have no obligation to, not follow this law. You should continue to enforce the new law. And that's what he sent. And then when he was held in contempt, he's like, what? Well, I told them. I told them that what you told me. It's like, yeah, asshole, and you also told him that you are appealing it, and, since you're appealing it or planning to appeal it, it wasn't even appealed at this point. You don't have to listen to his judge orders. You can continue to carry out this new immigration law in Florida. Insane. So Florida Attorney General James Uthmeier proposed the project last week, saying in a video posted to X in support of Trump administration's crackdown on illegal immigration. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis asked state leaders to identify places for temporary detention facilities. I think this is the best one, as I call it, Alligator Alcatraz. Uthmeier said, referencing the infamous prison island in San Francisco Bay, the 30-square-mile area is completely surrounded by the Everglades. It prevents an efficient, low-cost opportunity to build a temporary detention facility because you don't need to invest that much in a perimeter. He said, if people get out, there's not much waiting for them out there other than alligators and pythons. So this isn't some place where we're going to be housing dangerous criminals as much as they might claim that. They're not even trying to claim that at this point. These are just illegal migrants and, people who just don't have fucking paperwork, people who were probably just working at a job site, doing their job, not committing any crime here, getting plucked away, people going to courthouses trying to follow the legal process to get here, being plucked away, and they're going to be sent to Alligator Alcatraz. What the fuck? What the fuck is happening? This is insane. Absolutely insane. The site of the proposed facility is the Dade Collier Training and Transition Airport along the eastern boundary of the Big Cypress National Preserve in some 55 miles west of Miami. The state originally intended for it to become the Everglades Jetport, envisioned as the largest airport in the world, but halted development in the 1970s over environmental concerns. These days, its sole 10,500-foot long runway is primarily used as precision instrument landing and training facility, according to Miami International Airport. Uthmeier described the site as virtually abandoned. He got the green light within days. Uthmeier told the right-wing podcast The Benny Show on Monday that the federal government had approved his plan that morning, with the facility on track to open the first week of July. He said it would have 5,000 beds, half of its total capacity, by early July. Okay, if they're able to take an essentially abandoned airport and get 5,000 beds in it and set up for holding by early July, can you imagine the fucking conditions of this place alone? What these people that they're sending there are going to be living in? Oh my God. Alligator Alcatraz will expand facilities and bed space in just days thanks to our partnership with Florida, the Department of Homeland Security later wrote on X, but not everyone is on board. Environmental organizations and immigration advocates have expressed concerns about multiple aspects of the project, from the potential consequences on the fragile Everglades ecosystem to the well-being of the people who will be detained there, especially in the hot summer months. Yeah, you think this place is going to have adequate air conditioning? Jesus Christ, 5,000 beds in this abandoned airport within just a couple of months? Within, oh my God, in a fucking week, like 2 weeks. What the fuck is happening? Several hundred locals gathered outside the property gates on Sunday to protest the detention center and call for the protection of the land, stressing its special significance to the Native Americans as well as conservationists, according to member station WGCU. All right. I'm sorry, but like, I respect environmental concerns. I'm a big environmental guy. There's not a bigger environmental guy than me. But shut the fuck up. Okay, this should not be your concern. All right. In this case, fuck the environment. Number one concern, number one priority should be pointing out the fucking depravity and the absolute fucking dangerous conditions this will be for people sent there, and just how comic book villain this shit is. What the fuck? What the fuck? On Monday, Miami Dade Mayor Danielle Levine Cava wrote a letter to the Florida Division of Emergency Management asking the state to slow down and provide more information on its plans for the facility, particularly about the environmental impact, which she said could be devastating. Shut the fuck up. I mean, unless this is the only avenue to oppose this, but like, Jesus Christ, we're talking about sending not just undocumented migrants. We're talking about people who have tried to go through the legal process, who were in the process of going through the legal process. We're talking about people who recently had their asylum status and their TPS status revoked. At least 500,000 people that could be sent here. Well, what the fuck? Like, what is going on? Like, I'm losing my mind here. Let's see. NPR has reached out to Uthmeier's office for comment. When asked about these concerns and what a potential review process might look like, the Department of Homeland Security referred NPR to a statement by Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. Under President Trump's leadership, we are working at turbo speed on cost-effective and innovative ways to deliver on the American people's mandate for mass deportations of criminal illegal aliens. Shut the fuck up. You guys are focusing more on just casual, undocumented people who are missing paperwork and just ignoring the actual violent criminals here, because it takes more resources to go after the violent ones, and therefore you can't meet your fucking dystopian quotas of like 3,000 migrants a day being deported. Oh my God. What do we know about the facility? Uthmeier on the Benny Show said the facility will house migrants apprehended in Florida and around the country, as its runway can accommodate big planes. He said the National Guard will be on site and authorities will give them due process that all the courts say they need on their way out. This fucking asshole, man. The setup will mostly involve heavy-duty tent and trailer facilities, he added. We don't need to build a lot of brick and mortar. It will be temporary, and thankfully, Mother Nature does a lot on the perimeter. He said we'll have a little bit of additions needed, but there's really nowhere to go. If you're housed there, if you're detained there, there's no way in, no way out. That's sounding the alarm bells for some immigration advocates. Nana Gupta, am I saying that right? The policy director of American Immigration Council wrote on social media that people will be held in a facility surrounded by alligators and snakes in a dangerous heat with no oversight. Alex Howard, a former DHS spokesperson under former President Joe Biden and a native Floridian, called the project DeSantis' Little Guantanamo Bay in the swamp and a grotesque mix of cruelty and political theater. You don't solve immigration by disappearing people in the tents guarded by gators, he told NPR over email. You solve it with lawful processing like humanitarian parole, temporary protected status, humane infrastructure, and actual policy, not by staging a $450 million stunt in the middle of hurricane season. Wow, that too. This is insane. Insane. Who's paying for the project? This is where it gets better. Noem said in a statement that the project will be funded in large part by FEMA's Shelter and Services Program. The program was created in late 2022 to help cover some of the costs for communities sheltering migrants who have been released by DHS and are awaiting court hearings. These are not people who are criminals. Like, you know, when they are caught and released by DHS, they are, before they're released, they are still subject to a background check. Let's be clear about that. It provided reimbursements to state and local governments as well as nonprofits in 35 communities throughout fiscal years 2023 and 2024, according to the American Immigration Council. DHS told NPR that running the facility will cost Florida some $450 million 1 year, and that the state can submit reimbursement requests to FEMA, which has roughly $625 million in shelter and services program funds that it can allocate to the project. $625 million, by the way, is nothing in terms of, you know, just the federal budget. So before you're like, oh, there's $625 million to shelter these fucking migrants, why don't we like spend that here at home or spend it on actual citizens? Okay, I'm not gonna argue on that right now. I'm just so exhausted. But so let me ask you a question, and I feel like a lot of fucking dumb hogs in my comment section, I already know the answer. Would you rather $625 million going to providing shelter, food, and water to people, even if they're not U.S. citizens, but they are here and trying to go through the process to be here, to have some sort of legal status? Would you rather it go to that, or go to funding some dystopian fucking Alcatraz in the middle of a swamp, with the whole thing being, yeah, if you escape, you're going to get eaten by a gator, and that the conditions there are going to be horrible. They said there's not going to be much brick and mortar, so AC, yeah, that's not going to be happening in fucking Florida. And also hurricanes. What happens when a fucking hurricane comes? Oh my God. But yeah, most of you hogs are probably going to be like, yeah, fuck these people. I can't believe they came here illegally and just try to live a better life, and you know, they actually contribute like $100 billion in taxes every year into our tax system, and they also make up an important part of our job sector and our economy. But hey, fuck them. You fucking pigs, man. Jesus Christ. Deplorable. Deplorable. If you support this, you're deplorable. Like, I don't know what else you want me to tell you. There's also the question of buying the land. The Miami Herald reports that the state and county officials are currently negotiating the purchase, with the Florida government offering to pay $20 million for the property. What are the environmental concerns? The Dade Collier Airport is located within the Everglades, a subtropical wetland ecosystem stretching across 2 million acres of central and south Florida. The area is known for its wetlands, which are crucial to the state's irrigation and drinking water systems and wildlife, with hundreds of species of birds, as well as creatures like alligators, crocodiles, panthers, and manatees. Over the years, urban and agricultural development, invasive species, and climate change have all threatened the size and health of the Everglades, fueled a movement to protect it. One such group, Friends of the Everglades, is already campaigning against Alligator Alcatraz, saying buying the land in question is part of one of the most fragile ecosystems in the country and deserves lasting protection. All right. I'd like to think that these people care more about the people being sent there than the general ecosystem. I know this is crazy for everything I normally say, but like, Jesus Christ. Jesus fucking Christ. But if this is one of the only avenues we can do to actually contest this and prevent this from happening in the first place, more power to you. Conservationists hope Floridians can come together to block the detention center, just as they rallied successfully to stop the development of the Everglades jetport half a century ago. When work began in 1968, state officials envisioned an airport 5 times bigger than New York JFK International Airport, with 6 runways and a monorail, according to the National Park Service. As part of the project, the Department of the Interior tasked hydrologist Luna Leopold with researching the environmental impacts of the construction. Leopold's report, published the following year, asserted that developing the jetport will lead to land drainage and development for agriculture, transportation, and services in the Big Cypress Swamp, which will inexorably destroy the South Florida ecosystem and thus the Everglades National Park. Armed with those findings, a coalition of hunters, conservationists, and concerned citizens successfully pressured authorities to search for another location for the jetport, which work was halted in 1970, and President Gerald Ford designated Big Cypress National Preserve as the country's first national preserve in 1971. I just don't understand how anyone who has any just basic humanity can support something like this. Like, we are not sending dangerous criminals here. We are sending people who crossed here without paperwork, and in many cases are in the process of getting that paperwork by showing up to the immigration courthouses and then getting arrested by ICE because they're just waiting for them there. That's the people we're going to be sending there. We're not going to be sending Trende Aragua or MS-13 people there. No, not at all. Just people, maybe someone here that's been here 10, 20 years, never committed a crime, happens to not have paperwork, or hell, I've been seeing this a lot more recently. We have people who have legal status presently, but they initially came to the country illegally, that are subject for deportation because of how they initially got here, despite their current illegal status. That's the people we are sending there. Let me make that clear. And if you want to make this argument, it's like, well, FEMA funds, they shouldn't be spending 600 million on sheltering these people in general. Again, I say it's such a small fraction of our budget that's actually doing some good for at least someone. But hey, we should be spending that on U.S. citizens and improving our roads, infrastructure, our healthcare, our wages. But no, that's not what they're doing. They're using it to go from helping one group of people to using money to fucking have that same group of people be eaten by fucking alligators. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I will see you in the next one. If you made it to this point in the video, I just want to give a special thank you. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button down below, and if you really enjoyed it, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button while you're down there. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. I will try to reply to any and all comments that I can. Until next time, watch that video on screen.